Hello, everyone. We're here at Free Enterprise Celebrations somewhere around the world, and excited to be with you with our guest today, Robert Kiyosaki. Really, he needs no introduction, but we're here this weekend focusing on success, how to have success, and if we are having success, how to have more of it. And we're here with a leading expert on this topic and creating wealth that we could ever find. And so we're excited about that. Robert's an investor, an entrepreneur, an educator, and best-selling author with over 28 million and counting. That's probably dated already as we speak, starting from the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which was on the New York bestsellers list for pretty much a decade, to the recent book. And of course, that's The Business of the 21st Century. And of course, we're launching videos this year that feature Robert Kiyosaki with The Rise of the Entrepreneur, which are powerful, that he's sharing some of his concepts and ideas that have impacted IBOs in our organization all around the world. Messages that we all remember, like the middle class work for money, the rich have money work for them. You don't take responsibility for your finances, or you'll take orders from somebody else your whole life. You're either the master of money or you're a slave of it. And all these concepts and principles are the things that Robert has shared with us for years. And it's kind of special hooking back up with Robert and with Kim, as we've known them for now 20 years, which is also the 20-year anniversary of his first book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I got to tell you, as I was reading the book for the first time, I remember like it was yesterday. I was on a flight going over to South Africa, a long flight, so catching up on my reading, and somebody had given me this book in our organization to read it, and I found out later it's one of the first 1,000 books ever printed, and I didn't know what to think of it to begin with, but as I read through it, I'm telling you what, I've never highlighted and underlined a book any more than I have in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it was kind of like my own life story with Rich Dad and Poor Dad, except in my case, my real dad was my rich dad, and he was living out all the lessons that I was reading in Robert's book, and it was things that are not common to most people growing up, but they were unique, and that's what Robert shared about them, but they were common to me. And so that book has affected me and affected, obviously, your books have exploded all around the globe and begun to change the thinking of people. But it's had a profound impact on our industry specifically. So we thank you for that, Robert, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, because as I was saying to you when we're off camera, is that I owe a tremendous amount to your family. You guys gave me the start, the wind that pushed me all over the world, and I really thank you for your support. And you were the first guys. So without the Yager family, Rich Dad, Poor Dad might have struggled a lot longer. So I really do owe a lot to you guys. Thank you.
Well, back at you. So thank you so much for that and the education you've given to everybody. For those that are not familiar, there may be a few, and people are coming of age all the time, not getting this education in school. If you could maybe start by familiarizing people with what the four quadrants are, kind of explaining that.
And when you talk about the quadrant, I don't have a picture of it, but it's the E, S, B, and the I. And our schools train us to be E's, employees. Or when they talk about entrepreneurship, they talk about S's. And today there's a lot of programs teaching people to be entrepreneurs. The problem is they're going to be entrepreneurs in the S quadrant, small business. That's the worst quadrant of all. So when I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I endorsed your industry, direct marketing, direct sales, network marketing, whatever you want to call it. It's because you're in the B quadrant. And the difference between an S entrepreneur and a B entrepreneur, S works for money. In other words, let's say I open up a massage parlor or a coffee shop. I'm just working for money. I don't create anything. But if you're in network marketing, like with the Yager Group, you're actually building a business, an asset, something that has tangible, real value. So way back when, when I was writing Rich Dad, Poor Dad back around, I believe, 96, that's when I said, look, I endorse this industry network marketing because you're actually teaching people to be on the B and the I side, big business and investor side, and our schools are teaching people to be on the E and the S side, or small entrepreneurs. So that's kind of the long story of why I endorse your industry. So what the Yager Group is doing is training people to be on the B and the I side, not the E and the S side. I mean, it's that simple.
That's what it's all about. What do you think are the common thinking, or the common values of people, challenges or opportunities in each of those, the quadrants and the differences when you talk about the left and the right side?
In Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I talk about the rich don't work for money, and there's many reasons for that. So our schools teach people to get a job in the E quadrant or become a small business owner or a specialist like a doctor or a lawyer in the S quadrant. And on the B and the I side, you guys teach people to build assets, to build businesses, things that last. So there isn't, I went to school, I went to military school, but they never taught me anything about building assets. Today, I would say I'm a rich man because in my asset column, I have businesses, I have real estate, I have gold, I have silver. I don't have anything fake in there. I don't have fake things in my asset column. So the reason so many people are going to get wiped out is they went to school but learned nothing about the B and the I side. And I endorse the Yager Group because you teach people about the B and the I side. It's as simple as that.
Awesome. We want to talk today about success and how to succeed and why some people succeed and why some people don't, and what the difference is. But let's start out first maybe about the economy. You led into a little bit of that, but your views of what's happening today and what your perspective is on the outlook going forward.
Well, let's step back a number of years. Like I said, when I came back from Vietnam in 1973, I find my father fired because he actually took on the government. He's a good man, courageous man. But I could see the future. I could see more and more people, especially of my generation, would lose their jobs. And as you know now, today, in the year 2000, even lawyers and accountants are going to lose their jobs due to AI. It's called artificial intelligence. The idea of job security and a steady paycheck and then investing in a 401k or IRA, it's really crazy. So 20-something years ago when I published Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is that I could see this future coming. And unfortunately, it's here today. Kids are leaving school loaded with student loan debt, unable to find a job. To me, that's criminal. I have friends, kids are coming out of school $75,000, $100,000 in student loan debt, and they can't find that proverbial high-paying job. And so at least what the Yager Group is doing is giving people an alternative to the myth of job security, steady paychecks, and all that other stuff. The economy's coming down, you guys. We can't stop what's about to happen.
And the economy is going to go down, and we just experienced a great downturn a few years back, and then then there's growth, there's ups and downs. But how much do you think that the economy really matters or affects the individual, or does the individual affect the economy from an entrepreneur standpoint?
Well, I just did an interview the other day, and Puerto Rico, unfortunately, was wiped out by that hurricane. And what I say to people, look at the economy, as a hurricane that's going to get hit. And what would you do if you lost your house, your job, your income, your power, electricity? What would you do? They said, well, it'll never happen here. And I said, well, it's coming. Today there's cyber. You don't need military warfare today. You need cyber warfare. I mean, we don't live in the same world we did 20 years ago, but the reason I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad was I could see this future coming today. So if you're counting on job security and a steady paycheck, I think you might be sorely disappointed. And then at that point, you better figure out what's real in your life, what lasts, So one of the things that lasts is their own business. And so what the Yager Group does is teach people to have their own business. So I mean, you have some control over your life. And that's why 20 years ago I endorsed the network marketing industry. And what's ultimately going to bring down the United States and Europe and Japan is the entitlement mentality saying the government should take care of it. At least the Yager group is teaching people to take care of themselves. You know, you're teaching them to fish rather than expecting to be given a fish. And that's the entitlement mentality. You owe me a living. Now, that violates every bone in my body. That's not what I want. I want to take care of myself. So the Yager group teaches people to be taking care of themselves.
Take control of your own future. That's what you're saying. Don't rely on the government. Don't rely on, anyone else, any corporation. Take control yourself.
But it's an internal process. You know what I mean? It's nothing to do with outside. And the reason people quit, as you know, Steve, is that their guts are weak. They have no grit. They have no fortitude. You know, one of the reasons I'm successful is the U.S. Marine Corps taught me how to be stronger on the inside than the outside. And when I meet a lot of people who are looking for job security and all that, they may be highly educated, nice people, but they lack what the Marine Corps calls guts. They don't have the guts.
I heard a quote from you. I'm not sure if this is accurate or I'm saying it accurately, but you said, I think people find that interesting, and you said that inside of every person, there's a poor person, a middle-class person, a business owner, an investor. If you could explain that, and you think that there's a connection between the four quadrants and genetics. Some people think, well, I was an E quadrant, or my parents were employees, and my grandparents were employees, or whatever, that's where I'm going to be or stay.
Well, being an employee was a good idea up until the year 2000. And what I'm doing my best to say is back in 1997, when I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I was writing it for the year 2000. And as you know, in 2000, actually 1998, there were these major crashes taking place. And then the big crash before that was 1987. So went 87, 98, 2008, and now we're almost 2018. And the world's changing, and I think 2018 we're going to have the biggest crash in world history. So the idea of job security and a steady paycheck is kind of obsolete, sports fans. If you want to think you think Social Security and Medicare is going to take care, or Obamacare, or Trump care, you have an entitlement mentality. And maybe if you have an entitlement mentality, you really shouldn't be part of the Yager group. But to succeed in the Yager group, you have to say to yourself, well, inside of me, I have the spiritual strength to weather on, to keep going no matter what happens. And I want to teach that to other people. So if you teach other people the strength and the spirit to go on, you'll be successful at the Yager group. But that's, I just don't understand people expecting the government or their father or their mother or their company to take care of them. It just doesn't fit my value system. Unfortunately, there's a growing number of Americans and people throughout the world who are weak on the inside, and they really want somebody to take care of them. In other words, they haven't grown up yet. And the Yager group teaches people to grow up and get strong. It's not easy. Definitely not easy.
Robert, you speak the truth and as it is, and we like that because that's what people need. And I think people really appreciate honesty and bluntness sometimes, especially, you've got the credibility to back it up and your experience and your success in many different industries. And specifically in our industries, we're utilizing, the video that you're featured on, The Rise of the Entrepreneur. We're utilizing heavily the book of the Business of the 21st Century. In fact, you'd appreciate to know that as of this year, it's actually the #1 book in our business, in our organization, is how much that we enjoy that and how effective that is. So you've obviously put a lot of energy and focus supporting our industry. Why is that?
So what the Yager group does is teach people to produce an asset, that's sometimes called a downline or a business, that can produce money. And the thing I love about what you guys do is the only way you can be successful is to help other people. And so I support your work.
I love what you say about in your book, by its very nature and design, that network marketing is a strikingly fair, democratic, socially responsible system for generating revenue. Network marketing is a real-world business school for people who want to learn the real-world skills of an entrepreneur rather than skills of an employee.
Say entrepreneur, McDonald's is a business, but the guy who starts a hamburger stand is not a business. They're self-employed. The McDonald's builds assets by selling franchises, which are expensive. So your industry, our industry, gives people like you and I a chance to actually build a business, not a job. Most people in self-employed own a job. They don't own a business. Very big difference.
You say, speaking of business, you say that the network marketing business, being in your own business in that environment on that platform, pulls away the veil of mystery on the B quadrant. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's because you said it earlier. It's inside of you. Have you got it? Have you got it? And you'll find out if not, the first moment you want to quit, the first moment somebody says yes, or you can't take 1,000 no's. When I look for a real estate deal, I might look at 1,000 projects. When I look at a business deal, I am dealing with thousands of people. So the best thing about what the Yager Group and Internet Marketing does is teach you how to work with people. And if you can't work with people and their, strangeness and goodness and badness, we've all been disappointed by people. If you can't handle that, you ain't got it. You haven't got it,
That's the true thing. So most people don't have the opportunity to get into the B quadrant without a big investment and a lot of risk involved. So this kind of allows anybody that, whether they're in any of the 4 quadrants or the 3 other quadrants or none of the quadrants, they got no income, to get experience in what it's like living as an entrepreneur in the B quadrant and what that takes to succeed or to fail, and without the huge risk that takes traditionally to experience it and figure out what it takes, which is why you say, and most people say, it takes, usually, my dad always says, most people to be a millionaire, they become millionaires several times and then failed and lost it all before they finally get it to stick. And you don't have to go through all of that ups and downs, bankruptcies, whatever, and you can get that experience in what the B quadrant is without the risk.
Right. I've never declared bankruptcy, but I have failed many times. And that's what people lack, is the guts to stand back up again. So what you're teaching people is it's okay to fail, to stand back up. And most people fail and never stand back up. They run away. And that's why they'll never make it in the B quadrant. The B quadrant, by definition from the Internal Revenue Service, is 500 employees or more. So to succeed, you have to create, in the Yager Group, you have to create people who can create entrepreneurs. If you can do that, you can do anything. That's the issue. And you have a whole bunch of friends and people who are more like-minded, and you're not hanging a bunch of pack of losers with entitlement mentality or job security mentality. And if you can get people to get rid of the entitlement mentality, the job security mentality, and the steady paycheck mentality, you're good. You're real good. You know what I mean? And if you can get that good, you're real good. You're free. But if you're always dependent upon somebody's opinion of you, you'll never make it.
You said it. I believe that the entrepreneurial platform that Amway provides and the educational system that the Edge and Yager Group provide is the best way to help people shift from the left side of the quadrant to the right side of the quadrant. Some people thinking in the economy today that finally, for the first time in a decade or two, incomes are starting to rise, and people are looking at that, and the economy is doing better, more jobs being given, so people get diverted, and some people look at income and making a good income as really the goal versus the idea of building assets to generate income. Can you talk about that?
Well, employees and small business entrepreneurs work for money, and that's why I wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad 20 years ago, because I could see this coming. 20 years ago, I knew there was AI, artificial intelligence. If you think you have job security right now, a robot's going to replace you. That's really what's happening. It's not foreign competition. It's robots. Mm-hmm. You know, I already saw my replacement as a pilot. It was a robot. Uber drivers, their replacement is a robot. An attorney, their replacement is a robot.
That's just, technology is happening so fast, and probably that's going to be the biggest issue in the next 10, 20 years, like you talk about AI, artificial intelligence.
Today. Today. Don't wait any more time. It's today. It's happening today. So
realizing what's coming down the road to create an urgency is what you're saying. And, you know, our platform, you can become an S quadrant. You know, our business really starts as an S quadrant. Maybe you can talk about that into a B quadrant. What's a big business versus a S quadrant small business? But, you know, in our business is scalable. So you can start out an example of an Uber driver and go from just yourself, right, which is trading time for money, just maybe at the retail level, but to actually scalable and grow it to something to where you know have hundreds and thousands of people as part of your organization, entrepreneurs as well, building it for themselves.
Well, just know this: an Uber driver is not building a business. Okay, and if you join the Yager group, you're training them to build a business. Very big difference. Now, why are Uber drivers so popular? Because it's easy. Just as saving money is really easy. It takes no intelligence to save money. It takes no intelligence to use a credit card. It takes no intelligence to have a 401k. And they're all fake. They're all going to get busted up in a few years, maybe next year. We're very close. Every 10 years there's a major crash. 87, 98, 2008, 2018. And you can look at it as the worst thing that's going to happen. But if you're in the Yager group, it's the best thing that can happen, because you'll be helping a fellow human being finding a way out of this, what's going to happen. You give them an opportunity to get out. That's why I support you guys.
You know, Uber is a popular product right now. There's other products like that have become very popular and doing well. I don't know how their company stock's doing or whatever, but it's a product, you know, and we have phenomenal, amazing products in our business that we're excited about. But one of the things that you talk about that's so important for people to understand, it's not about any one product or service. It's having network, building a network where products and services flow through there, whatever they are. They're going to change over time, not being glued just to one, but the idea of building networks.
Yeah, that's it, but you're building a business. Please hear me. If you're an Uber driver, you're working for money. You're not building anything. You know, here today, gone tomorrow. So, you know, I mean, I don't expect people to do what I did, but when I was in my 20s, when I saw my poor dad lose his job and never recover again, that's when I designed my life around McDonald's. You know, if you've seen that movie, The Founder, that guy went, you know, Ray Kroc went through hell. But the McDonald's business, as he says in there, my business is real estate. And I know a lot of your diamonds and all that, their business is real estate. I've met them. You know, so they build a Amway business, but they buy real estate. So that to me is smart. So the Rich Dad company just replaced McDonald's, and our business is real estate. So I have many, many companies as I'm an entrepreneur, but the ultimate thing is to buy real estate, and the excess cash goes to gold.
Let's talk about bottom line as we kind of get to the close here. Why some people succeed and when some don't. You talk a lot about that, which I think is important. Not just providing the education and framework of which side of the quadrant you need to be on, but when you do, even for those that pursue that and choose the route of becoming an entrepreneur, being in charge of their future, having more control over the bottom line in their household. Why do some succeed and some don't? What are some of the factors that you think determine that?
Well, I've said it before, it's because who you are is inside of you. It's not out. It makes no difference what the economy does. If your inside is strong and structured and you're educated, you have good moral values, you have a good team, you have good friends. And the reason most people don't make it, instead of having a spine, they're pudding. They're weak. Very, very weak. They don't have guts. They don't have intestines. So that's why what you teach them is actually develop the strength, the resiliency, the spirit, the tenacity, the grit to survive no matter what happens. Because you've seen it and I've seen it. We've met a lot of people with, PhDs, but no guts. Absolutely no guts. And it's going to take guts or grit or tenacity, spirit, mission, honor, duty, respect to make it now.
One of the things you talk about, which I think is so important, is that in each of the quadrants, there's a different mindset of the friends that you have, whatever quadrant that you're in, your circle of friends. Talk about that. What role does that play when you're pursuing being an entrepreneur and people you surround yourself with?
Well, being an entrepreneur is having a team. Being self-employed or the S quadrant, you don't need a team. So the most important thing that you teach people to do is build that team. You have 10 people who are strong as you are. You got it made. But those first 10 could be the toughest you ever have to find. And I think that's the challenge. If you've met my wife, Kim, she's beautiful, but she's tough as nails. My wife is a real woman, not a wimpy woman. And, I was a former Marine. We took care of people in different ways who were cowards. I have no respect for cowards. Because inside of me is a coward also, and there's times I'm very afraid. But also my friends help me out to get me through the tough times. So we're human beings, and human beings being human. So that's why the first 10 people in your downline are the most important people you can ever have, because from there it gets easier and easier and easier, because you've developed a team, a culture of success. My team makes me very, very rich, very rich. But they also hold me to a higher standard, because I wouldn't be on their team. As kids, we all knew, when I went out for football, let's say, or baseball, if I was a wimp, they don't want you on the team. And so the problem with E's and S's, most people don't want them on their team, on an entrepreneur's team. So if nobody wants you on your team, nobody wants you on their team, what are you going to do about it? That's the question. And so I'm very happy to be part of your team, to support whatever you do, because you guys do great work. You're really helping the world at the most critical juncture in world history. You can always count on me, Steve. I thank your family, you and your family, because you guys gave me a start. And I think that's called spiritual teams. And really that's what the world needs right now, because we have too many crooks, con men, and liars. And you know where they are. They're everywhere.
Well, that's kind of the point. It's important hooking up with people of similar yoking and quality people that you associate with. And sometimes that's hard to leave other people behind, but if you're going to go to some place, whether that's the B quadrant, you're going to need to start associating with people, of like-minded people, or they're going to pull you down. And everybody tries to do that, whether intentionally or unintentionally. You talk about it a lot in your book. And so you've got to link up with like-minded people, and I've seen you do that in your business world, as we've done in our world, and everybody has to do that, and that helps you to rise to a different standard too. The better quality people that you associate with, more like-minded entrepreneurial people.
Yep. Again, it goes back to being in the playground of life. When you're a kid, who wants you on your team? If nobody wants you on your team, You got to make some changes pretty quick. You know what I mean? And that's real life. Otherwise, you're entitled to be. I don't know I don't know where people are at today. Why would you think you're entitled to anything? I believe in providing jobs, not needing a job. So it's a different mindset.
You know, you talk about helping people, and I think that's the biggest thing in it. That why we focus on what we're doing in our business and our industry, relating to you in real estate. And like you said earlier, a lot of the leaders in our business and our organization have done what my dad has taught, is to really follow the 4 steps that you have, even though he didn't have those when he did it. But you talk about your 4-step pathway of, you know, build a business, reinvest in your business, and then invest your money in assets, and then let your assets buy your luxuries. You know, so that really, you know, is what we focus on in this business. We have a lot of real estate and businesses there, but those are not anything that we can involve employees and opportunity in, where somebody can become equal or surpass us, like the business that we're really in. So it's really unique and exciting to spend time in doing what you're doing, whatever you're going to do to be productive, to know that you're really helping other people to be successful and change their lives.
Yeah. Just remember, the ultimate entrepreneur is the McDonald's model. You build a business, you buy real estate, and invest in gold. You do that, you'll be set for life, if you can do that. So, Steve, again, keep up the good work. I appreciate all you've done for me personally and my business, and you can count on me if I can support you in any way. Call me.
Well, we thank you, Robert, for taking the time, and give our best to Kim. I communicate with her, and I know she's the secret weapon behind you, just like most women are. And we appreciate taking the time today and reinforcing our message, which is your message. And encourage anybody watching this that haven't listened to Rich Plan, Poor Plan, or some of the audios, that watch the videos or read the books. You know, these are ones that are priorities for me to have my kids read these books. And so we couldn't promote them enough, and thank you enough, Robert.
Thank you. Keep up the work, Steve. Very important work. And to all of you watching this program, stick with it. It's the best program you can be in right now. Thank you.